First of all, I want to address that we're not sitting in the optimal circumstances for podcasting. So if you hear a lot of stuff going on, like air conditioners and trucks below us, yeah, we're in Nashville, Tennessee, and we chose to be somewhere near the heart of everything, Broadway. And we've got our mastermind retreat starting today. We got some of our students coming in this afternoon, and tomorrow we have a session where we discuss soul sciences, and that's gene keys, natal astrology, human design. We'll do some soul science work, and then on Thursday and Friday we are in full sessions where it's really about doing body work, doing a deep dive into what's happening in our mind and body to start to clear out the clutter of what's going on. So that's what we're doing over the next couple days. We're not in the usual tropical destinations or the mountainous, beautiful destinations that we're usually in for our retreats, but we wanted to pick somewhere kind of close to St. Louis where it was within driving range, and that's why we're here. So we're gonna take imperfect action instead of no action. But listen, a lot of things have been coming up over the last week or so. All right, a lot of new reveals. And the other day I did a video. And if you don't follow me on Facebook and TikTok and across social media feeds, if you don't follow me on my YouTube channel, go subscribe and go connect to all these different ways that that I share content in the world and share videos and inspiration and podcasts and everything else. But go connect to these things, subscribe, like, share. It helps us expand our reach. But the other day, I shared a video, and it was a very simple message, and it was like even less than a minute long. And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a piece of paper, and I would challenge you to do this, right, for your own. Get a piece of paper and write down everything that's true for you. And I'm going to give you some examples, right, to work through. Everything that's true for you. I am wealthy. I am broke. I struggle with money. I only just have enough. So get really clear about what that is. How about I am happy, or I am unhappy? Or how about I am happy in my marriage, or I am unhappy in my marriage? Or how about I am healthy, or how about I am not healthy? How about we can pick anything. I love myself. I hate myself. I'm disgusted at myself. How about I love my life? How about I hate my life? How about my life is full of struggle? Get clear about all these different things in the world. How about I love to show up and be seen? How about I am scared to show up and be seen? Like, whatever's true for you, and get really, really honest and get really clear about what's true for you. And then it might take some resculpting and rewording, but scratch out all the I ams and replace it with, my nervous system is wired to experience or to be, or my nervous system is wired for, whatever that looks like. You got to wordsmith it a little bit, but because this is where you'll find the deepest truth. That turns I am wealthy into my nervous system is wired to be wealthy. If you're broke, my nervous system is wired to be broke. My nervous system is wired to be happy. My nervous system is wired to be unhappy. My nervous system is wired to be seen, to love to be seen. My nervous system is wired that I hide from being seen. Whatever's true for you. My nervous system is wired to be healthy. My nervous system is wired to be unhealthy. Whatever, there's where you'll find your deepest truth. And when you experience that, that's when we can really, really, really get to work, not on just rearranging what's happening in the external world around you, but really getting to the deeper work, the more meaningful work about reshaping and recreating a nervous system that is capable of experiencing a different relationship with whatever those things are. Now, this is really, really deep meaningful, impactful work. All right? And when I started doing some of this stuff, what I've noticed is, let me tell you a story. A couple years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago, we had a boom in our business. Our mastermind expanded from around somewhere between 15 and 20 students to we blew up to like 75. And we had a mastermind retreat in Miami, Florida, and it was awesome. There were about 55 of us in a house. My wife and Kara Dossi, our operations assistant, they rented this amazing Airbnb. It was just a beautiful mansion, I guess we could call it. And we had all 55 people hanging out. Not everybody was staying there, obviously, but we were there. We were at the retreat, and it was like living my dreams and kind of like what I really wanted to experience, where I could go to 4 different places, and we had breakout sessions, and I had 4 different coaches teaching these breakout sessions, and I got to see and experience work getting done with people in the mastermind, real work, real contemplative, real existential work getting done. And I just got to observe it instead of teach it, instead of lead it, instead of facilitate it. And that had always been a dream of mine, like for work to be getting done, but for me not to be always the one doing the work. It's something I wanted to experience. But I got to tell you what I really experienced in that mastermind retreat is that there were a lot of people there, and there were a lot of eyes on me, and I was really, really visible, and it scared the living bejesus out of me. That there were so many eyes following me all around that house and watching what I was doing, and watching how I was showing up, and watching how I was interacting with everybody. And that was a lot of eyes and a lot of visibility. And up to that point in my life, although I craved visibility, although I craved for that level of focus and admiration and attention, there is a part of me that knows I'm here to experience that and to be a part of that. I got to admit that some of the deeper layers of me struggled with that because, there was too many eyes, and I felt the judgment, and I felt the rawness of they're going to see who I really am, and instead of this image that I have, because they're going to spend a lot of time with me. And this week with our retreat, we got around 13 people, but in that retreat with 55 people, that was a lot of eyes on me, and that was a whole new level of being seen that I had never experienced before. And when we came home from the mastermind, the retreat, unconsciously, I started kind of tearing it down. I started peeling back layers and kind of condensing it, all very unconsciously. And now I realize that the deeper layers of my nervous system wasn't ready to be seen at that level yet. It wasn't quite ready. I had some work to do before I could be seen and before I could be experienced at that level of public visibility. Now, all these years later, 2 or 3 years later, I'm doing the deeper work, the more meaningful work of being seen. And let me give you an example of what this looks like. When I was a little kid, I was somewhere around 7 years old. I was in Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts or whatever, but we had some swim training that we were going to do. And we were down the YMCA, and our whole little troop or pack or whatever the hell we were at that time, we were in the, we were getting ready to go to the pool area, and we were walking single file out to the pool, and I was in the back. I didn't want anybody's eyes on me. And, because I had my shirt off and I was exposed. But I walked out, I was last, and when we got out to the pool, I jumped in the pool as fast as possible because I wanted to hide my body. And the instructors called me back out of the pool, and I stood by the side of the pool, and I put my hands on my boobs, because I've been chubby. I was almost 10 pounds when I was born, so there's always been some flub and some chub on this frame of mine, right? But I was hiding the boobs, and I was kind of shrinking my torso because I didn't want anybody to really look and see my body. It's like I was born with this body shame for whatever reason. And I've been experiencing it ever since. When I was in high school, I would never shower after gym class, as disgusting as that sounds, because I didn't want to be seen. I didn't have a girlfriend until I was 18 years old, because I felt this was disgusting, so I didn't want to subject anybody else to that. And I kind of deprived myself of a good social life and a good, a sexual life, and all my friends were out socializing, girlfriending it up, being just human in the world, being a teenager, being, just chasing girls and chasing fun. And I was kind of buried, and I kept myself buried in the in my room, my house, or wherever I was. So my friends, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, my friends would go down the ocean every year for 7-10 days. They'd always invite me, but I would never go, because they went in hot tubs together. They went to they went to the ocean together, and I just didn't want to be seen by those my folks, my friends, that I thought if they saw me and saw who I really was and what was underneath the layers, if they saw it and experienced it, then they reject me, and I'd never get an invite again, and they wouldn't want me. When I was in the Marine Corps, when all of my friends were out chasing tail, and all of my Marine buddies, they were being chased by girls just because of the uniform that we were wearing, which that shit is real. I was in my barracks room hiding away. I didn't want to be seen. So yeah, I've always experienced this shame of my body, right? And I've expressed it on here before, but at this mastermind retreat, I'm going to do something different. And I'm sharing this because this podcast launches on Thursday. And by the time when this podcast launches, the day of our first full day in session, I'm going to do something that I've never done before, and I'm going to do something to start really accelerating working through this. I am going to come out, and I am going to start teaching, and I'm going to start sharing some of this exact stuff with my folks. And then I'm going to have a rainbow Speedo on underneath my clothes, and I'm going to take off all my clothes, and I'm going to be with them for about an hour in the front of the room in a rainbow Speedo, with all my glory. I got, I was trying to think, how can I keep this legal and be seen at the most level possible in order to start to work through this. And I know it's going to be uncomfortable. I know it's going to be frightening. I know I'm going to hate it. I know it's going to be probably the most unsettling hour or whatever in my life. But it's something that's necessary for me to break through and to find the freedom that I know I want for myself, and that I know I'm here to help people work through. Now, why do I need to take this drastic measure? Here's another story. When I've got I got a shirt on, a t-shirt if you guys aren't watching, but on YouTube, but I've got a t-shirt on, it says America fuck yeah, all right? And I am a patriot. I freaking love this country. I love my country. I love the United States. I've hid that away a lot of times, and I'm working through that. And that's just one layer of being seen and being accepted and being understood for who I am. That's just one layer, right? And I'm doing this in all areas, all right? So it's putting myself in positions to face the discomfort in order to work through it. Now, my America fuck yeah shows my patriotism. And when I went to Marine Corps boot camp back in November of 1992, showing my age, when I went to boot camp in November 1992, I got to admit, that first day you get dropped into boot camp and there's 5 people all around you, 5 Marines around you, and they very rarely do at that time in our recruit training, they very rarely scream at you by themselves. They always have multiple Marines around you screaming at the same time, and the reason being is because they are trying to expose you to as much freaking chaos as humanly possible without being in a wartime situation. And it's not uncommon to have a drill instructor in front of you, a drill instructor on your left, a drill instructor on your right, and one even behind you, and they are just surrounding you, and they are all screaming different stuff. One's telling you to stand up. One's telling you to sit down. One's telling you to undress. One's telling you to get dressed. One's telling you, it's just like complete chaos. And they're in no way organized, and they know that they are giving you mixed signals. And when you listen to one and you don't listen to the other, then the one that you didn't listen to is going to scream, oh, so now I don't matter. You don't take orders. And they're just exposing you to the craziest shit possible. And when you first experience that, you've never experienced, up to this point, you've never in your life experienced that level of agitation and discomfort and chaos and internal anxiety and struggle and just tension. You've never experienced that level of stress in your life. And on that first day, it's like your body basically almost folds. Your body becomes paralyzed. And it's like everything that you do takes 5 times longer, and that makes it worse because now they're screaming at you more. And over the course of the next 3 months, approximately 90 days, over the course of the next 3 months, your body becomes normalized within that chaos. And at the end of 90 days, at the end of recruit training, if there's ever 4 or 5 drill instructors around you, your body doesn't even react or respond or get triggered. In fact, when they're screaming at you by the end of boot camp, it's almost funny, and or recruits, we're not Marines at that time, recruits almost start to like laugh and laugh at how freaking stupid some of these guys are being, and how you're in this situation where you can't possibly win, and you might as well not even try because there's no way to win, and all they're going to do is scream at you more. And that is the point of the whole thing and the whole exercise, and the reason for this immersion is that the first day of boot camp, your nervous system is wired to be stressed out in chaotic situations. And by the end of 90 days, your body is rewired to be comfortable and relaxed in those same exact experiences, in that same exact environment. And that's why in combat, Marines tend to keep their military bearing about them. They keep their head, they keep their wits, and they're able to take on, identify the mission of the Marine Corps, identify, close with, and destroy destroy the enemy by fire in close combat. Like, that is the mission of the Marine Corps and the mission of the Marine Corps Rifleman. As brutally honest as that is the business of being a Marine, to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and close combat. And if your body is stressed out by being in chaotic situations, then you don't have your wits, and if you don't have your wits, you can't take care of business. Meanwhile, the enemy hasn't been trained in chaos, so you automatically have a natural advantage. Now, this is what we're doing in the Inner Wealth Mastermind retreat. It's beginning the process of becoming uncomfortable in that thing by first identifying how it is our nervous system is wired, and then leaning in and running into the discomfort so that we can become wired for what we want instead of what we don't want. And the reason for the rainbow Speedo is because leaders got to lead by example. And the best way to get people's attention and the work that's most meaningful and most beneficial, the way that I'm planning and choosing to do this is by being the example, doing the thing, doing the work, letting them feel their discomfort. Because when I'm in a rainbow Speedo, they're going to be just as uncomfortable, if not more, than me. Because they're going to know how uncomfortable I am. I'm going to tell them. And they get to face that discomfort. And this is how, when we're wired for being broke, we gotta get into situations where you feel wired, how you're wired for being broke, through shadow work, through self-reflection, through contemplation. Get into our body and find where these pockets of pain, these pockets of resistance, these pockets of belief are, so that we can kind of like expel them, find them, move them, and expel them, release them. But we can't do that by finding and seeking comfort. We've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. And if you're afraid to be seen, you got to put yourself in position to be seen. There might be people that they're at the front of the room, they don't know it yet, but they're going to be singing a cappella by themselves. They're going to be screaming because their voice has been timid their whole life. They're going to just be speaking their truth in front of a room because they've always withheld their truth. They're going to be doing some things, and I'm going to put them in certain circumstances that's going to make them radically uncomfortable. Whatever they're facing, that's going to make them radically uncomfortable so that they can finally lean into the discomfort and start to work through it. But I've got to do it from example. By the time you see this or see this or listen to it, the work will probably already be in progress. And next week, on next week's podcast, what I plan to do is talk about the experience that we had in the room with that. And I plan to share pictures and videos on social media because listen, my body doesn't look pretty. I've got a Dunlap, I've got rolls, I've got back hair, I've got stretch marks, right? I've got extra skin everywhere, and my mind and my ego and my nervous system's always said, hey, if we run enough and if we lift enough, if we become skinny enough, if we become buff enough, and I'm talking about me, then we can show our body. But you know what? My body was never ever built to be okay with my body. And I know a human being, and I admire this guy, that doesn't have a naturally skinny build. And oftentimes he's very, very big. And sometimes he gets smaller, but sometimes, most of the time, he's on the larger side. And you know what? When he goes to the beach and he has no problem in his skin. He has no problem showing his body. And that's because his nervous system is built to not be ashamed of his body. Where my body is built to be ashamed of this body. And it's time to face that. With all this that I'm talking about and talking you through and sharing with you, what is the thing that's been a pattern and a deep-seated source of blockage in your life that's kept you small, that's kept you from experiencing a bigger life, from experiencing more in life, from experiencing more wealth? Is it asking for a sale? Is it asking for more, right? In some cases, and one thing I didn't say, I am courageous and open sexually. Some people their nervous system is built to be open and courageous sexually, and some people are built to wither under, even thinking about sex and asking for sex. So these are things like we deserve. Everybody deserves an abundant life, a wealthy life. Everybody deserves happiness, deserves health, deserves lots of awesome sex, deserves being seen and sharing our gifts with the world. But not everybody's built for all these things. And while most people are chasing circumstances in their life, what most people don't understand is what's within them, buried deep in their nervous system, that's been conditioned and programmed and buried for so long. It's that's keeping all of that from them. And the work in Inner Wealth and the work in Inner Wealth Mastermind and in all of my work, my teachings, my workshop, is to find what's in there that's keeping you blocked and get after it. Finally get after it. Because when we release the blockages and the resistance that's inside of us, things that are perfect and aligned and natural for us, that we've desired pretty much our whole life, they'll start to flow into our life, and we'll get the opportunity to receive them. All right? But we got some work to do. All right? I'm sharing this because I'm teeing it up for next week. This is going to be a lot of fun. Uncomfortable as fuck for me, but I'm not just here for comfort. I'm here to set myself free, and hopefully the work that I do also helps to set you free. I love you guys. Check back next week, and I'll decompress with you and share my experience and the experience that we had in the room. All right? This week, do some contemplation on what that thing is that's keeping you blocked. And next week, let's get after it.